I'm going to show you how you can trade 6 to 8 times throughout the whole year and still make a lot of money and not have to stare at the charts. Yo, what's up guys, Sheldon the Sniper here, and in this video I'm going to be showing you a long-term trading strategy from Sniper School for free. Now guys, I know some of you don't have much time to stare at the computer and stare at the charts, but I don't want you to miss out on the life-changing money. When this bull market starts, you need to have a strategy. Now remember guys, we have cohort 7 starting in the next few days, and this will be the last cohort that will run on the current system, where you have to open an exchange link, deposit $100 and prove that you're using that exchange link, and you get the whole school for free. This system is changing guys, and this is the last cohort that you can do it this way. Now get your pen and paper ready, get the charts ready, and enjoy the episode from Sniper School. Now it is time for us to look at the long-term strategy. Now remember, you have 3 powerhouse strategies, but they're all basically trying to help you work your way up the ladder. Now you need to understand something with crypto. It's extremely volatile. So less is more when your account gets to the right size. You may use short-term strategies to make quick cash and you'll be trading multiple coins. Then you'll be using the medium-term strategy to be trading the swings over a few months as well. Ultimately still trading less than short time frame, but getting your account to the size that is needed. Now, when you get to a certain point of getting account up to $100,000, $200,000, you don't have to trade that much anymore. It's very important. People think the more they trade, the more money they're gonna make. Not really. When your portfolio gets to a certain size, you gotta actually start trading a lot less, but make a lot of money. And all you have to do is learn that each strategy can come at any different time, whatever the market's offering you, and whenever you need to get your portfolio to a certain point, you can move on to the next stage. Another very important part of the long-term and the investment strategy is you need to understand you are finally building your wealth to the point where this is your gold. This is what holds all the value that you have in the space. So you need to be very selective of what you hold that value actually in. Now, a lot of people think that investments, you should be having many different tokens. I look at it differently. I don't think you should have more than 5 investment tokens. You can trade many different tokens on the other strategies, which is fine. But remember, you're trading those in order to make profits. Once you make profits, where do your profits go? And they need to go into good investment entries. Now I'm going to show you the long-term strategy. And initially what this is going to do is you're going to take the main tokens you're trying to accumulate, and it's going to look at it at a way higher time frame. So whenever you decide to take profits on any of the other short-term strategies or the medium-term strategies, you'll actually take the profits and buy it at the right time when the investment chart is telling you to buy. So you're being smart. You're not just buying for the sake of buying. You're using 1 or 2 of the tools to make you the money, and then you're using that money to buy the investment side at the right time. So let's jump onto TradingView. And the same thing is make sure you have diversified and split your watch lists. You want to make sure you have a long-term watch list. Now for me, Bitcoin, Ethereum, 1 or 2 major alts is ideally what I'm trying to build in this space. And the other one that I have is the USDT. Now this one's important for me, because with any of the other strategies, when I take profits, I'm taking them into USDT, I'm taking them into dollars. Until my investment chart is telling me to buy Bitcoin or buy one of those tokens, then I'll use those funds to actually buy them. Now let me show you the tools that I use to actually look at the higher time frame on these tokens. I'm going to be using Bitcoin as the example. Now for me, my investment side, I don't want to be trading this often. So I only want to trade 1-2 times a year, if not once a year or once every 2 years. Now, when it comes to charting these tokens on the higher time frame, I want to focus on something that I'm not trading often. I want to be very accurate. And for this, I use the weekly. And what this means is I'll possibly trade once or twice a year, if not once a year, maybe even once every 2 years, whenever the right indicators are telling me to do so. The tools that I use for this is the Stochastic RSI, which is probably one of the most powerful tools when it comes to the higher time frame view. I will use my horizontal support and resistance. I will use my trend lines, and I'll use the 50 moving average on the weekly chart. Now let's have a look currently where Bitcoin's at and how you would make a good decision as an investor of when to buy or when to sell. The first thing you want to have a look at is what direction is the market moving? Strong up, sideways, or strong down? Very important. And if we have a look over here, we could see that this market's been coming down for a while. For the last year, it's been coming down quite a bit. So when it's coming down, as an investor, what am I interested in? I'm interested in looking at where do I buy. I want to buy specials. Let's take the first thing. Let's actually take our ruler and have a look at where Bitcoin is from the top to where it is right now. It is sitting over 75% down from the previous all-time high. As an investor, your eyes are already going big. Now remember, people make mistakes by buying when price goes up. But if you're a really smart person, you'll be buying when there's huge specials in the market. So already you could see that this has been coming down for a long time. Now the next thing that's important is you want to load your stochastic RSI. Now the rule will always be whenever you want to buy a token as an investment, your stochastic RSI must be in the oversold position. And remember, if you have a look at all the previous times that this was in the oversold position, it always ended up being great entries investment-wise. You could see the different times where we had the early bottoms. Remember, this tool shows you when the market is oversold and people have been panicked out. So whatever happens after, when the market bounces, it will offer you what it offers you. You will never know how high it will go after, but the tool will tell you when it's getting to overbought position after that. So for example, if you saw the previous times where this area was in an oversold position, as an investor, you would be dollar costing or getting into the market. When the market then went into an overbought position, you would have been offloading. So previously in this time, if you bought in this area over here, you would have bought in that zone and you would have laddered out when the market was in an overbought position, making you a 30% amount dollar value. You would have got out the market, right? And if you got out the market then offered you up to 60% tokens. So you would have got out, you would have been sitting in cash. All of a sudden the market came down by 60% and your RSI went into the oversold position and you would have bought again in that area. Now you would have had 60% more Bitcoin in that time. And before that, you made 30% more gains on dollars. Now guys, as you can see, we make everything simple. And ultimately, this long-term strategy is simple. The only thing that's really tough about it is the patience. But therefore, if you can learn patience and just wait for these indicators to cross, this will give you the direct signal to buy and sell. And all you have to do is just follow the simple strategy. So remember guys, cohort 7 starts in the next few days. Go below and click the registration button. It will send you all the basic steps and come join me on this journey. I don't want any more excuses. If you don't have time to stare at the charts, trade long-term strategies. If you do have time to stare at the charts, trade daily strategies. But stop allowing your excuses to stop you from entering crypto or playing along this game that can change your life at any single moment. No more excuses and get your ass to class and let's change our lives. Now you would have gotten back into the market until the market got into an overbought position over here. It did not offer you many gains. So you could see over here, you would have bought in this area and ultimately you would have only made around 10% until the market told you to sell it on the way higher time frame. But right now you would be in cash. And now we're looking at where can Bitcoin go. So firstly, your stochastic RSI, you are waiting. Secondly, now this is where you start putting your support and resistance lines. You want to go take all the previous data and you want to see where has Bitcoin been before and where could we go from here while the RSI is making its way down. So you want to take your horizontal line and you want to put it at that support zone over there, one that we are currently dropping and not holding right now. So after that, where's the next one? You have that area over there and you have that area over there. So what you're ultimately doing is you are setting that you don't know where this price is going to fall to, but you're setting at where could be the areas that we could actually bounce. Your RSI's got to make its way down. Let's paint the picture now. If you take the picture of this making its way down to these areas and you have the RSI make its way down, all of a sudden, you could see that this is an area of interest and you have an oversold market. Now, the third thing you want to add in is you want to put in your major trend line. So you want to go take this whole trend that's been coming down and you want to put a trend line to track all of that. And if you put that trend line down, you could see how we literally got rejected, giving it its third touch. So it's a valid trend line and that will be your confirmation buy. So this works very similar in the way that we did the short-term and the medium-term strategy. When you get to the area of an oversold RSI and you get to support, you'll buy up to 50 to 60% of the token. After that, you're waiting for the trend line to break. Once the trend line is broken, we should not come back in. That should be the low. We should now be chasing for the higher high after that, and you would buy in the rest of the 50%. then you would be putting a stop loss under the previous low. For example, let me show you. So you would be buying in this area, and ultimately, once you have these zones marked out as your supports, you'll then mark out any areas that are slightly below that as well. So you'll take that low and you'll basically mark out all the levels that Bitcoin could possibly get to. Now, if we get to these areas over here and the RSI is reset, I'm deploying. I am putting a stop loss under the previous support in case we decide to go lower, because now the RSIs are reset, we should start to make our way up. Now we actually end up getting the bounce in this area and we break the resistance trend line. That means we should not come and test these areas at all. We should bounce from here and ultimately go chase getting a higher high. So I would then make sure that the rest of my position is in, and after that put a stop loss under the previous low. And then when the RSI makes its way up to the top again, now I want to see where would I take profits in the market, because it's very important. You have to make sure that you still have your risk to reward. So if the markets come down to this area and you've decided to buy, because the indicators have told you to buy, you will put your long versus short tool. Because now you want to see, I'm buying, where am I going to take profits? So you would put this in and you would see, where would I put my stop loss? Under that previous support zone. So ultimately, I'm risking 10% of my capital. Now remember the difference between the time frames. A long term is bigger ranges, so you will have bigger stop losses, but it also works on the other side. Your gains are a lot bigger too. So for me, once I've entered that trade, where are the areas we could make our way to? And you're going to use all these previous zones where this was a previous support, now resistance. So that would be a TP. The next one, you'll basically start marking out all of these previous tops as areas that you would like to take profits. Now, the next one that's very powerful is the 50 moving average. Now, 50 moving average can be great as a tool that is for support or for resistance. It can help you buy in at times, and it can help you take profits. And what that means is you could see very clearly at the moment it is coming down. So for me, it's a resistance right now. It's an area we should go test at some point. So if I have that over there, and I have another resistance in the same area, and all of a sudden the market, the trade takes off and starts to make its way well, and this RSI is making its way to the top. So if we have this resistance over here and the 50 moving average, it's sort of giving me a good area on where price could make its way to. Now remember, we want to paint the picture of the trade before it actually happens. So if this trade's a success, I want to take this move, buy the rest of the breakout, and I want this to basically start breaking these levels. I want the RSI to make its way up to that time, and ultimately when we get near the 50 moving average and the resistance is an area that I want to take profits. So if I have to have a look at my risk to reward tool, I would see that ultimately that trade would make me up to 180%. So I'm risking 10%, but ultimately I'm looking at making 180% gains on that, giving me a risk to reward ratio of 1 to 17, which is massive. Now, when it comes to investment wise, your risk to reward, I like a 1 to 10 as a minimum. So do you see why you trade less, a lot less, but you end up making way more? Less is more in this game, very powerful. So at any time, you could take profits at any of these resistances, but ultimately use the most obvious tool. The tool that tells you when we are overbought and when we are oversold. Very simple. So you've taken this trade now. We may not get to any of these levels. We may not. We may even get higher than any of these levels. But when this tool makes its way back into the overbought position is a time where you should start getting ready to sell. Then you'll look at the chart and be like, we're in this area right now. These are my resistances. Here is my 50 moving average. And the RSI is telling me it's oversold. I'm taking profits in this area. And you start setting your limit orders in that zone. And then all of a sudden, you're out of the market and you will wait patiently for that RSI. Once it's done that, to make its way back down, you will mark all the levels of where the support could be. And when the RSI is in an oversold position is when you will load up. So guys, this is a very powerful strategy, but this is an investment strategy. This is when you're sitting at a place where your account's at the right size. This strategy is not always the best for the guy that has $100. Because $100 is great, but if you only traded once or twice a year, even though you're making good gains, it's going to take you 10, 20 years to get the real size account that you want. So you'll be using short-term strategies. Once you get to $1,000 or $2,000, then you go into the medium-term strategies. You get to $20,000, $50,000. Then you come into this strategy and you take your $50,000 to $1 million. Now let me show you another example. Let's chart ETH. Now let's do it again with each other this time. The first thing you want to do is you want to put your stochastic RSI. Where are we sitting? I'm not interested in buying ETH right now because my RSI is not telling me to. So I would take this and I would mark out the area of where I want to buy on the stochastic RSI. The second thing now is what direction are we moving? Very clearly to the downside. Okay, so that means I want to mark up my previous levels. Where could we go and where could there be interest areas of where someone would want to buy ETH or the big guys would want to buy ETH? So you take your horizontal lines, you would mark up the first one, which clearly we're not holding right now. You would then mark up the next ones. We have that level at $800. We then have another level that's sitting at $400 or $500 level. Great. So now you've given yourself two areas. We have $800, we have the $450 region. When the RSI makes its way down to those areas, you will soon see where price actually is. Maybe it's holding between this area or anything like that. Great. So you're basically getting ready to buy anywhere between these levels, but only when the RSI gets there is when you're actually going to start deploying whichever support we'll be sitting on by the time we get there. The third thing you're going to be doing is you're going to be putting a trend line. You're going to be taking this trend line and you're going to be putting this actual trend line in play. And you can see beautifully how we have 1, 2, 3 touches. Valid trend line, great. So ultimately I'm looking at where can I deploy my first 60%, and that would basically tell me when the RSI is at the bottom and whichever support we're holding. Then when I'm getting ready to buy, I'll put my risk to reward ratio tool to be like, okay, fine. Price has now made its way down. We're sitting at $800. Our RSI is reset, which is fantastic. I want to deploy in this area and I'm going to put my stop loss under the previous support. And basically you'll come down to around about a 12 or 13% stop loss on your actual trade. Then what you want to see is where could we go from here? So your 50 moving average is another great example of an area, but you actually want to take your horizontal lines and you want to take the previous tops and previous lows and mark out where this could possibly go next. So you don't know which one it's going to go to, which is very powerful. And this is also where trend line, which I'll explain to you now, becomes extremely powerful. But ultimately you're buying the 60% on the support. Then all of a sudden we break trend, you enter in the rest, you make sure your stop loss is moved up just below that area. So your stop loss will be in the zone over here. And then what you're doing is you're waiting for your RSI to make its way to the top. You've used your risk to reward ratio to see the levels that you could get to. Your first target's 65%, 1 to 5 risk to reward ratio, which is okay. But as an investor, I'm looking at least the 1 to 10. And it's teaching you guys you don't have to rush trade all the time. You want to get that beautiful entry that gets exactly the amount of money that you're looking at. For example, if I'm looking at 100% trade, I want to take my $100,000 to $200,000 on this trade. That's my goal. That's my plan. And I need a 100% trade to do that. Then when you have $200,000, you're looking at how can I make it 200 to 400,000? Not how can I make 200 $1 million? No. How do I make 200 400? How do I make 400 800? You got to work in step for step. People try to jump the ladder and that's when they end up getting caught. So wherever the resistance level is showing you the correct trade that you are looking for specifically to make what you need for the trade, that is the area you should set your take profits. Very important. And if you do take profits, you don't care if it goes higher, because when the RSI is reset again, you will buy back on support and you'll get straight back in again. So guys, now you have seen all 3 of these strategies. You can now look at that ladder and be like, this is how much I have, this is where I need to start. Maybe you're at a level where you can start in the medium-term trading and you don't have to start with the short time frame. But what's beautiful about it, guys, is you are learning the skill of all 3. So at any point, at any time in your life that you're at any stage of that ladder, you will have the skill to be fine and know how to upgrade to the next one, which is extremely powerful. Remember, you're setting yourself a structure. You're becoming a robot. So when something gets to a level and 3 of those boxes are being ticked, this tool is right, this one is right, this one is right, take the trade, put the stop loss in, set your take profit points. Stick to the same system all the time. Don't allow the emotions to change it. Don't change. If you put your take profits in a point, keep it there. If you put your stop loss somewhere, keep it there. You either get stopped out or it's a success. If you do get stopped out, it sets you up a bigger trade for the next one. So never fight the system. Build the system and stick to it. And ultimately what you're learning is you're working your way up the ladder, but less is more. And when you get to a certain level, it actually starts to become a lot easier. And remember guys, if you are brand new, it does look extremely overwhelming, but it's really not. And the way to shake that is you actually start with a short-term strategy. You take something called school fees money, maybe $50, and you actually trade on a short time frame. And you learn how the tools work and you understand your emotions throughout that time. Even if you're at the stage where you have enough money to become an investor now, but you're brand new to this market, go start off on the short-term strategy. Get used to it, get the flow, then you start deploying capital. The biggest mistake that people make is they come with capital and they just jump straight in. They're not even comfortable, they hardly know what they're doing, and that's why they ended up getting eaten by the big guys and end up losing their money. It's the same repetition of the cycle, and you're gonna see it many times in your journey. So slow down, breathe, get used to each of the actual systems, take school fees money. When you're ready and when you're confident, then you can start with capital and start to trade. And remember, ultimately, you're building your way up the list. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, make crypto very easy for yourself, understandable and achievable. Stop hiding from your own success. Very important. Remember, we have code 7. Go below, smash the registration button, smash a like button and the subscribe button if it's the first time you're watching. Come join the family that never quits, never gives up, and we are going to get financial freedom together. And go below and comment what you enjoyed about the video and what you would like to see in the further videos. Guys, have a fantastic day. I'm on holiday right now, getting a little bit of a breather, making sure I'm keeping the head strong, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Much love.